As I'm sure you're all aware, a little over 6 months ago, we got the gold trade-up update, forcing gold prices down as they are easier to obtain, and pushing cohorts, classified, restricted and mil-spec skins upwards. But ever since that update, the market has been in a very uncertain place. Some people are speculating if we are in a bear market and if skins are completely dead. That's what I'm gonna talk about in this video, but important to mention, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm basically just an idiot who enjoys making videos about Counter-Strike and has been following the market for a long time.
Here in my garage, just bought this new Lamborghini here. Knowledge.
But according to Price Empire's market cap, the market fell roughly 40% after the update, then almost immediately recovered about 25%, then over the next month's time it gained around 17%, and ever since then it's been falling, sitting around 15% down from that peak. That puts us at a net change of about 26% from start to day, and it's been a lot worse the past couple of weeks. So let's talk about how this could happen, what items are affected, and whether we really are entering a bear market. Firstly, what does the US Securities and Exchange Commission classify as a bear market? A time when stock prices are declining and market sentiment is pessimistic. Generally, a bear market occurs when a broad market index falls by 20% or more over at least a 2-month period. By that definition, yes, the general market has entered a bear market because of the trade-up update. The last couple of weeks, the market has gone down about 10%. So the general market has entered a bear market, but that's completely understandable. Valve has made what I'd call a breach of trust with the player base by introducing such an impactful change overnight. And what I mean by that is basically that when players put real money into skins, there's kind of an unspoken expectation that rules of the game won't change dramatically without warning. And when Valve decides to release such an impactful update, that trust basically just breaks. And it takes time to rebuild, but we'll come back to this later because there's also other factors at play. So let's talk about the more specific markets and what has been hit the hardest. Cases are actually holding up better than most other categories. In my opinion, that's mainly because of the fear that they'll be permanently replaced by the terminals. So parts of the community are moving into cases hoping for a full transition in the economy. This is also backed up by ongoing investigations and lawsuits. For example, the New York Attorney General is currently suing Valve for promoting illegal gambling. That has led to speculation that Valve is trying to phase out cases altogether, and it's worth noting that shortly after these lawsuits, Valve released the Dead Hand terminal. Coincidence or not, but whether cases will be removed holds any water, I'm honestly not sure. I think it depends entirely on how these lawsuits play out. What I will say is that terminals tend to become very unprofitable a few weeks after release. So you might be opening a covert and you'll still be losing money if you buy it. So I can imagine this is what Valve wants, because I reckon players would much rather open cases than terminals. Moving on to the Armory. The Armory is basically struggling, largely because of too high supply and not enough attention being given to the Armory itself. CSROI backs this up. Previously, the highest yielding collections were returning close to 140% ROI. Now a lot of them basically aren't profitable after Steam market fees. And that is just because there's way too much supply on some of these items. Valve has announced they're removing 4 collections, which is a positive sign long term, but right now redeeming stars just isn't as lucrative as it used to be. If we circle back and look at the high tier loadout index, it's down about 17.5% since January 1st. You could partly credit the price manipulations, which I covered in my previous video, where some skins were being pushed down on Chinese marketplaces, but to manipulate that many items at once would be nearly impossible, and it probably wouldn't be fair to credit this kind of price drop to the manipulations. But the manipulation certainly isn't helping, but it's not the primary cause. Moving on to agents. Now here's something I think is genuinely worth paying attention to. Agents are down 32% compared to pre-gold trade-up levels, and agents had absolutely nothing to do with the gold trade-up mechanic, so this drop in price can't be explained by supply and demand changes from the update itself. It has to be coming from fear and loss of trust in the market more broadly. I think this price drop is an overreaction. The only thing realistically that should be pushing down agents is the fear of new agents being added, but the fact that unrelated items are falling this much tells you something important about where community sentiment actually is right now. Patches and most diggers are in a similar situation as the agents, prices falling with no actual changes being made to those items at all. Now let's talk about player numbers. This is also an important factor because of course prices will be falling with less players as there's less demand. If we compare average players from April this year to April last year, we've seen a 6.8% decrease. This isn't alarming in itself, but it also explains the demand issues a bit, but as I said, it isn't alarming. The player count dropping could also be credited to other factors like Valve cracking down on bot accounts and anti-cheat problems. But let's come back to that breach of trust I mentioned earlier. So imagine you're not an investor or a flipper, you're just a regular player who enjoys the game and you spend $800 putting together a sick combo. Then overnight that combo drops 20 to 50% in value. That hurts a lot. And the next time you think about putting money into the game, you're going to hesitate. You're going to think harder about how much you're willing to spend or whether you want to spend at all. Because in my opinion, the trade-up update didn't only hurt investors, it primarily hit CS2's core audience. That's the real damage, and that kind of trust takes time to repair. Long term, I actually think the gold update is good. Cheaper golds, higher value on the rest of the case items. That should be a net win for the player base, but the short-term pain is real, and it's going to take some time to heal. And this is just my speculation as to another reason why the market has been bleeding. With all that said, I won't be worrying, and I definitely won't be panic selling. There's just no need, and it could burn you in the long run. The CS2's market has been through difficult periods before, and it's always recovered. I might be wrong, but I'm not selling anytime soon. If anything, I'm thinking about expanding my portfolio because I have trust in the developers, even though they really understand the meaning of delayed gratification. I do think they can cook and are working hard to make the game bigger and better. So when exactly is the market at its lowest? Well, that's hard to say. Usually the player count keeps dropping through May, June and July, but it would be impossible to predict like the exact time where the market is at its lowest. So I'm just gonna dollar cost average and buy here and there. But yeah, if you like this video, feel free to like, subscribe and join the Discord, where I'm trying to build the biggest investor community in Counter-Strike. That would mean the world to me. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are you selling, buying or just holding? Thanks for watching. Bye.